Hey everybody, Yankee here. One thing we all like to be prepared for is zombies. The end times. When the dead start to walk the earth again. We're all very, very concerned about that. And everyone knows I have the gun side of defending myself in that situation covered very well. But people quite often ask me about bladed weapons. What about bladed weapons? Do I keep bladed weapons? Are there any bladed weapons I think people should definitely have in case of zombies or other end time scenarios? And of course I do, and of course I do think you should have them. I have them, I think you should have them. Now there's three I think you should definitely have, and I'm going to cover those today. Now, one thing that a lot of people think you should definitely have is a katana. Now, I actually do have a katana here. It's one of the shorter katanas. The longer ones intimidate me. So this is called I don't know what they call these, wabi-sabi or wakasaki or wabba dabba doo, something like that. But I have one here, but I'll tell you what, this thing scares me. I am not an expert sword fighter, no matter what some people might tell you. This is not something that I feel comfortable with. Every time I mess with this, I feel like I'm more likely to castrate myself than I am to actually stop a bad guy. So this kind of blade makes me nervous. Even if you're comfortable with other types of blades, katanas can be intimidating and can be difficult to use properly. So even though they are a great weapon if you know how to use them, they're not something I recommend for everybody because there's other blades out there that can do very similar things to the katana while being much easier to wield. And what I'm talking about is a machete. This is number one on my list of things people should have as far as bladed weapons go. You should have a good machete, maybe have a couple of them. One that you use, like this one here, this is the one I use all the time, and one you keep aside so it's always in good condition. This one here, I've got quite a few nicks in the blade. It's kind of worn. It's very sharp though. I keep it sharp, and I've used it recently. We had a tree down across the road. It wasn't a big tree. It was probably about 8 inches in diameter, but I was able to use this to clear it off the road. I used the bladed side to chop off all the branches, and then I used the serrated side to actually cut the top half of the tree out so that I could move the pieces to each side of the road and get through. So having a machete is a must-have, and it can be very easily used as a weapon, as a slashing weapon like a katana can. So if you're looking for something to use as a slashing weapon that also has a lot of other utilitarian use, a machete is probably number one on my list of things that you should have as far as bladed weapons for the end times. Now, another blade you're going to need is a fighting blade. That machete's great in a fight, and it also has a lot of utilitarian purposes, but you're probably going to want something also that's smaller, easier to carry, that can be used in an up-close and personal fight. Something like this here, this Chaos from Cold Steel. Now, I like this for multiple reasons. One, the blade is double-sided, and on a knife that you're going to be using for fighting, that's nice. That doubles your chance of getting a fatal slash on something. So I like a double-sided blade. This one also has built-in brass knuckles, so you can use it as a striking weapon up close. Strike and slash. So this is a really nice item to have, an actual defensive and offensive fighting knife. This one actually even has a thing on the end here for breaking glass. That's actually very useful. You can also bring that right down on top of someone's head. And of course, it's going to be great for stabbing zombies in the skull. They have very soft skulls. On all the documentaries I've seen, people just slide knives right in them or, squish their skulls with their feet. So they have very soft skulls. So as long as you got a nice, strong, pointy blade, you should be able to take out a zombie with your fighting knife. But a fighting knife is something you definitely need to have. Doesn't have to be this type, but you should have a blade like that. It could even just be a Bowie knife. Something practical to use around the camp that you can also use for a fight. But I like something that's dedicated more to actual defense. So that'd be number two, a defensive fighting knife. So now we're moving on to number three out of my 3 recommended blades. And it's something that I never see in the movies enough. You see them every now and then, but every time you see a situation where they're like trapped on top of a van and there's like 20 zombies around them and they're like, oh, what are we going to do? You know what they should do? They should get out their spear. Everyone in the zombie apocalypse should have a spear. These are great. You can use them as a walking stick when you're not using it to defend yourself or to take out zombies. But when it comes time to take out zombies, you can do it from a distance. Everybody in the zombie apocalypse should have a spear. every time they're stuck on top of something like a van, etc., this would be the solution. You know, every time I see that in one of these documentaries, I'm like, you know, if they had a spear, they'd be off that van in like 3 minutes. Because how long would it take to stab 20 zombies in the head from above? And in real life, hopefully we wouldn't be the kind of people that like, oh, I slipped and fell, or oh, I dropped it. You know, you'd be a little more careful than those people. But this would solve a lot of problems. Like I said, use it as a walking stick. And then you can use it to take care of zombies on the ground. Close up, poke, 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 without actually having to get into biting range. And this can be used as a melee weapon. You can swing these like a sword very easily. So makes a great offensive, defensive weapon. Not just dispatching zombies when you're standing on top of a van or on a porch roof or something, but when you're down in the actual fray, you can swing it, you can use it to knock people in the head, you can stab, you can do all kinds of things with a spear. And I never understand why the people in these documentaries don't have spears. It's something you should definitely have. So number 3 on my list of bladed weapons you absolutely have to have in my top 3 bladed weapons is a spear. It's so simple. Even native people knew to have these. Neanderthals, everybody from them on up knew spears were important, and that's why it's number 3. All right, now that we've named the top 3, there is one other suggestion I make, because some people are like, well, I want something that I can have that isn't that conspicuous. You know, I don't want to walk around all day with a spear, and you never know when zombies are going to pop up. You know, they don't set a date on the calendar. You don't look at your calendar and go, okay, this is the day the zombies are coming. So you might need something out in your everyday life. Well, if you're an older person like me, you might want to get yourself a cane sword. Here's my cane sword. It has a carbon fiber shaft. It is a full tang sword here. The metal goes all the way through the handle and up in to the end here, which I hope you can see there is an octopus, which is in honor of our great cosmic protector, Phil, the cosmic croctopus. Now this sword is very easy to use. There's just a button right there on the side that you press, and that allows you to draw your blade. And it has a pretty formidable blade on here. I think this blade is like 22 inches, so it's a pretty stout blade. And like I said, it is a full tang here, so it's very strong. It came very sharp, but I intend to sharpen it up a little bit more. But it's incredibly pointy. If you use this as a stabbing weapon, oh my God, it's very sharp. And as a slashing weapon, it's also very sharp, but it's going to be a little sharper. And I find this far less intimidating than katana blades. Maybe it's because it's lighter. I don't know, but it's just one reason or another, even though this is double-sided, I find it far less intimidating than the katana. The katana's weight just makes me feel very uncomfortable, the way the blade is weighted. So this I feel much more comfortable with. And you can also use this as a striking weapon. You know, if it's all put together as one piece, that heavy metal top on it right there makes it very good for smacking people in the head. And also, while you're actually using it to defend your life, you can kind of dual wield here. You can use your sword, and you can use this part as a club or something to keep people at a distance, or zombies at a distance, while you dispatch them with your blade. So this is something I like to have, but it's not something everyone needs. I'm just getting to an age where I'm going to be walking with a cane pretty soon. I fractured my hip recently. I'm getting at that age where when I fall down, I fracture my hip. I fell really hard on a big chunk of ice, but still. So I ordered this right after that. And the fact that it has the octopus on top of it was just a plus, because now it's part of my Phil regalia, or whatever you call that, whatever you wear for your ceremonies. So I wanted to point out cane swords as an option to people, although they're not something I think everybody should have, but I think they're very cool. So for that reason alone, I have one. So there you have it. That's my top 3 blades you should have for the end times or the zombie apocalypse. Like I said, the things you need are a good machete. You need yourself a good fighting knife that can also be used as a utility knife. And you definitely need yourself a spear for those situations when you're surrounded on top of a van. So I thought I'd take a little bit of time. Threw up in my mouth. That's gross.